because it's so big, folks, we wanted to preview this one against the Orlando Magic. So, Kyle, when you're looking at the Sixers and the Magic going into this situation, again, a young team still the Orlando Magic are. They've won 4 of their last 10, or just simply lost 6 of their last 10, however you want to put it there, for the Orlando Magic. What are you looking at when? What are you focusing on in this one for the Sixers to do to take down the Magic?
Well, you have to stop their forwards, right? The team and the program is built around Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. And Nurse actually, what was the term he used? I think he called them power wings today after practice. I thought that was a good way of putting it. I believe those two did not play, or one of them did not play in the previous meeting.
Wagner, I believe.
Wagner did not play, and that was the one that Joel actually was available for, and they won by 15. Was a pretty comfortable victory. So first order of business is how do you slow them down and who's guarding them and how they sort this, I guess, wing forward rotation out. I think the assumption has always been Tobias starts, and then what do you do next to him? Lately, Kelly's been getting a lot of burn. I do think, if I had to guess, Batum might move back into the starting lineup on a full-time basis just because you want to get him as many minutes as possible with Joel Embiid. I think they specifically have great synergy, and he helps Joel out in a big way on post-ups, duck-ins, outlet passes, as a guy in the corner with a quick release. He's a good connective passer, all that. And sort of how do you use him against one of those guys, you would assume. I think Batum, I have concerns about him as the top perimeter defender, which is how he's been used, but mostly against smaller guys. I think in a matchup against Wagner or Banchero, he's certainly well within his wheelhouse guarding those guys. So it always starts with them. I'm never that fearful of, even though he's broken out a little bit this season, Jalen Suggs. Like, I think the next step.
Well, I was just going to say, like, his key isn't necessarily he's breaking out offensively and becoming a huge threat, but that he's really, like, he's improved the shot so much that his defense can be just,
because he's an excellent defender. So it's being good enough on offense and,
play
as
big
Derek
minutes,
says, as a spacer to play heavy minutes. But I just think if you can slow down the wings, their shot creation is not quite there. They're like one legit guy away to me from being like, they'll be a fun young playoff team, right? Like, they might steal a game or two off of somebody, I think. But I think next year, if they can make a real move, somebody outshoots their trajectory in terms of player development, what have you, then I think they can do some real damage. But I think the Sixers should win this game. And I think this season they've done a relatively good job with Paolo specifically. Like
100%.
He scored 14 in the last meeting.
19 in the first one. He was 6 for 21 in that game.
Yeah. So they've done a good job all year on maybe not the most important player, like him and Franz are kind of 1A, 1B to me at this point. So we'll see what they do with those guys.
Yeah, 2-0, Derek, in those matchups. And they weren't close. They were blowouts in both games.
No, I mean, look, this is a really good defensive squad, Orlando. They do a lot of things really well. They get the free throw line. They win the rebounding battle a lot. They force a lot of turnovers. But if you can make this a half-court game, I think you can have a pretty good chance to shut them down. And I think Joel Embiid's really good at basketball. Sometimes it's really that simple. He's the best player on the floor by a long shot.
Wendell Carter has nice games against him sometimes, but he still puts those guys in hell where he puts them in foul trouble. I was going to say,
he has a nice game by scoring. Some of his Joel's most dominant games have been against, like, one of his first memorable 50 balls that I can remember was against Wendell Carter on the Bulls. And that was a few years ago at this point.
So he'll get active on the offensive glass. The one game he had 25 off the bench. And that was against Joel Embiid. But on the other side, Joel had 36 with 1 personal foul when Wendell Carter came off the bench and had 4 personal fouls. Not to mention, they started, how do you say his name? Batazi? Is that? What is it? Go.
I think it's Goga Batazi.
Yeah, he had 4 personal fouls, so he puts them.
But I could be butchering his name for all I know, so I'm not laughing at you as much as the general.
You said it more confidently than Devon, so we're going to go with it.
Yeah. How about that? Foul trouble is his name because that's what Joel Embiid does. He puts those guys in foul trouble, and Derek, I know I cut you off, and
that's fine.
I'm sorry, but he does give them problems at that 5 spot. So you know what's going to happen. They're going to throw multiple bodies at him.
Look, Orlando doesn't shoot a ton of threes. I think they're bottom 5 in both attempts and makes. As long as the Sixers don't lose the possession battle by a ton, I have a pretty confident they should be able to pull this one out.
We all silly like the mayor.